Hi, Assalamualaikum. My name is Siti Nurfatiha binti Ramadan, matrix number BG241101995. Today, I will be presenting Chapter 1, which focus on the introduction and key variable of the study. First, I will explain the background of the study. In recent years, there has been a growing concern about financial management among university students in Malaysia. This is because students are now required to handle new financial responsibilities, such as managing their allowance, education, loans, and personal bills. At the same time, digitalization and cashless payment systems have made spending much easier and more convenient. However, this convenience also increased impulsive spending, especially through online shopping. As a result, the lack of proper financial planning among students often leads to poor spending, discipline, and financial stress. Next, I will explain the problem statement. Online shopping platform and digital payment encourage students to spend excessively, often without careful consideration. Although most students understand the importance of saving, they are easily influenced by peer pressure and instant gratification. Furthermore, the shift towards a cashless society makes money feel less visible, making it harder for students to track their spending. Many students also avoid financial planning because they perceive it as complicated. In addition, current financial education programs tend to focus more on theory and fail to address real spending behavior, such as impulsive buying and social influence. Next, I will explain the research question of this study. There are 5 research questions that guides this research. The first question examines whether there is a significant relationship between financial literacy knowledge and student spending behavior. The second question focuses on the relationship between peer influence and student spending behavior. The third question looks at whether parental income has a significant relationship with a student spending behavior. The fourth question examines the relationship between financial management behavior, such as budgeting and saving, and student spending behavior. Finally, the fifth research question investigates whether parental influence affects student spending behavior. Next, I will move on to the research objective. This study has 5 main objectives, which are aligned with the research question. The first and second objective are to examine the relationship between financial literacy, knowledge, and peer influence on the student. The third and fourth objective focus on the impact of parental income and financial management behavior. Lastly, the fifth objective is to examine the role of parental influence in student spending behavior. Now, I will present the scope of the study. This research focused on student spending discipline in Malaysia, covering various age group and education level, from school pupils to university students. By including different educational stages, the study aims to provide a comprehensive understanding of how spending behavior evolve over time. The study further examines the impact of financial planning and impulsive spending, particularly in today's digital and cashless environment. Additionally, it considers the influence of parental incomes and peer pressure, as these factors significantly shape student financial decision and discipline. Moving on to the significance of the study, firstly, this research aims to enhance student financial responsibility and budgeting skill, equipping them with the knowledge and habit to manage their finance effectively. Secondly, it seeks to reduce financial stress, debt, and impulsive spending by promoting disciplined financial behavior. Thirdly, the finding can inform universities in designing target financial literacy programs addressing the specific need and challenge faced by students rather than providing generic advice. Finally, this study contributes to the body of academic research in behavioral finance, offering valuable insights into the financial behavior of students within the Malaysian context.
These slides summarize the key factors influencing spending discipline among university students as identified in previous studies. First, financial planning plays a central role in spending discipline. Studies shows that budgeting and expense tracking improve spending control and reduce financial stress as well as impulsive buying. Second, financial literacy enhances students' understanding of budgeting and saving. However, research indicates that financial knowledge alone is not sufficient unless it is supported by disciplined financial behavior. Third, peer influence significantly affects student spending, especially through social activities and non-essential purchases. Social media further intensifies consumption pressure among students. Fourth, parental income influence spending behavior. Students from higher income families may feel less urgency to budget, while lower income students tend to be more disciplined provided proper guidance exists. Fifth, financial management behavior such as budgeting, saving, and expense monitoring is a strong predictor of disciplined spending, and financial planning strengthens these practices. Lastly, parental influence through guidance and role modeling promotes responsible spending, while lack of parental guidance increases susceptibility of peer pressure.
Hi, my name is Dr. Judge, and I'm going to present Chapter 3, which is Research Methodology. This section explains the research method used in the study and outlines how the research question will address and the research objective achieved. The key focus includes the research design, data collection techniques, and data analysis methods. Next is research design. This study adopts a quantitative research design to examine the relationship between financial planning and spending discipline. The quantitative approach allows structured data to be collected and statistically analyzed to identify patterns and relationship between the variables. Next, data collection. The primary data for the study was collected using Google Forms. The survey link was distributed through social media and messaging platforms to reach a wide range of students. Data collection was carried out over a period of 4 weeks to ensure an adequate sample size. Next, study population and sample size. The target population of the study consists of university students in Malaysia. A total of 265 respondents participated in the survey, providing an adequate representation of the population for the analysis. Measurement of variables. Variables were measured to enable statistical analysis. Nominal scale classified respondent. Interval scale used a Likert scale for agreement on financial planning and spending. And measure scale collected exact numerical data for precise comparison. Next, the dependent variable in the study is spending discipline, while the independent variables include knowledge of financial literacy, peer influence, parental income, financial management behavior, and parental influence. The questionnaire is structured into 3 sections. Section A contains screening question, Section B collects demographic information, and Section C includes construct and measurement items, which is the dependent and independent variables. Finally, proceeding for data analysis. The data were cleaned and analyzed using IBM SPSS. Reliability analysis was conducted to ensure consistency and accuracy, while descriptive analysis summarized the demographic information. Bayesian correlations was used to examine the strength and direction of relationship, while multiple linear regression identifies significant factors influencing spending discipline. That's all for me. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Christine Resimbun. My metric number is BG241101192. I will present Chapter 4 for Data Analysis and Finding. Data Analysis, we analyze using the SPSS for reliability tests using Cron-Batch Alpha and descriptive analysis conducted on student demographic. For the statistical analysis, we use the first-person correlation, which is examine relationship between financial planning and spending discipline. Second, we use multiple linear regression, which is identify key financial planning factor influencing spending discipline. This is our demographic analysis. The highest percentage for age is 21 to 23 years, which is 51.1%. The highest percentage for gender is female, which is 59.3%. The highest percentage for occupation status is full-time student, which is 95.1%. The highest percentage for ethnicity is Sabah Bumiputra, which is 48.1%. The highest percentage for highest level of education is bachelor degree, which is 65.3%. The highest percentage for region of residency is S Malaysia, which is 52.2%. The highest percentage for monthly allowance is below 300 ringgit, 301 ringgit to 600 ringgit, and above 1,200 ringgit, which is 21.6%. The highest percentage for managed on personal expenses is yes, which is 88.8%. The highest percentage for how often do you create a personal budget is sometimes, which is 33.6%. And lastly, the highest percentage for what is your main source of financial support is parents, which is 37.7%. 4.3 is descriptive analysis. There are 6 variables in this study, including the dependent variable, spending behavior, and 5 independent variables, which is knowledge of financial literacy, peer influence, parental income, financial management behavior, parental influence. The mean of each variable is being analyzed by researcher. For 4.4 is validity and reliability test. Validity analysis. Validity measure how accurately the instrument captures the intent construct. This study focused on construct validity, tested using Pearson correlation SPSS. Validity criteria is Pearson correlation more than 1.254 significance value, less than 0.05. All dependent and independent variables meeting this criteria are considered valid. Results are summarized in Table 4.9. Reliability assesses the consistency and stability of the measurement instrument. Cronbench alpha was used to test construct reliability SPSS. Acceptable reliability threshold alpha more than or equal 0.70. There are 4 constructs tested. First, convenience or ease of use. Second, security and privacy. Thirdly, benefits and reward. And lastly, intention to continue or increase use. All constructs recorded Cronbench alpha value above the minimum threshold. For example, intention to continue or increase use alpha equal 0.816. Convenience or ease of use alpha equals 0.640. Results indicate good internal consistency. In the paragraph, we can see that the Cronbench alpha for knowledge of financial literacy is 0.640. For peer influence is 0.856. For parental income is 0.682. For parental influence is 0.670. For financial management behavior is 0.676 and overall is 0.816.
In this study, the normality test was conducted to assess whether the data followed a normal distribution, which is essential for applying parametric statistical methods such as Pearson's correlation coefficient, skewness, and kurtosis. The data is considered normally distributed if skewness values falls between -2 and +2, meanwhile kurtosis values lies between -7 and +7. The analysis shows that all variables do not have skewness and kurtosis measurement that falls outside the acceptable range. For instance, knowledge of financial literacy, skewness and kurtosis measurements stood at -1.312 and 6.194. Describe the interrelationship of the 6 variables. Most of the variables reveal positive and significant correlations, depicting the significance of interrelationships of the variables with each other. However, all these correlations are significant at 0.01 level. The table below contains a model summary of the results of the multiple regression conducted to investigate the association between various predictors such as peer influence and spending discipline as a dependent variable. The R value shows that the relationship between independent variables and dependent variables are moderately strong. Meanwhile, the R square shows that the variables selected for the model explain 39.7% of the variability in the variable spending discipline. The adjusted R square is a better measure because it considers the number of variables and gives a better indication of the model's fit in the population. Meanwhile, the standard error of estimate indicates the average distance of the observed data points from the regression line and represent an acceptable level of prediction accuracy. Additionally, it is statistically significant when an F of 34.084 and P not more than 0.001, which implies that there is significant influence of various predictors on spending discipline. Also, the Durbin-Watson indicates that there is no significant autocorrelation between the observations because it supports the assumption of independence of observation. The regression analysis investigates the impact of independent variables on spending discipline as dependent variables. Results reveal that the greatest positive impact on spending discipline was generated by financial management behavior, which has standardized and standardized regression coefficients of 0.349 and 0.383, along with t-value of 6.081, although the p-value is less than 0.01. The results are used to establish the relationships between the independent variables and the level of spending discipline. Awareness about financial literacy proves that significance between financial literacy and the level of spending discipline, implying that students who have high levels of financial literacy are more probably going to have a more financial disciplined manner. Peer influence proves significance between peer influence and the level of spending discipline, implying that peer groups play a significant part in influencing students' financial behavior. Parental income proves less significance between income levels and the level of spending discipline, whereas the impact of parental influence proves moderate significance. The results are used to establish the relationships between the independent variables and the level of spending discipline. Awareness about financial literacy proves that significance between financial literacy and the level of spending discipline, implying that students who have high levels of financial literacy are more probably going to have a more financial disciplined manner. Peer influence proves significance between peer influence and the level of spending discipline, implying that peer groups play a significant part in influencing students' financial behavior. Parental income proves less significance between income levels and the level of spending discipline, whereas the impact of a parental influence proves moderate significance.
A very good day to Dr. Jaludin Janteng. So my name is Desri Nulius and I will be explaining about chapter 5. So before we dive into the states, here is the big picture. The most critical factor in student spending discipline isn't how much the money they have, but their behavior, specifically the budgeting. So while most students manage their own money, nearly 89%, they are highly susceptible to peer pressure, which is we found that actually decreases spending discipline. So, looking closer at the drivers, financial literacy acts as a shield against impulsive spending. However, peer influence works in the opposite direction, which is as a social pressure to consume increases, and we see a corresponding drop in students' ability to remain disciplined with their finances. So, interestingly, how much money a student parent make isn't the main factor in their discipline. Instead, it's the guidance parent provide, and most importantly, the student own management behavior, like tracking daily expenses, and that leads to the highest level of financial control. While this study provides a solid foundation, our group recommend that 3 key areas for future researchers. First is to make the findings truly representative of all students in Malaysia. We need a stratified sampling across all states, like the example here. Second, we need a longitudinal study which would help us see if these habits stick after graduation. So finally, we cannot ignore that the digital shift. So future studies must examine how e-wallets and one-click payment are changing the psychology of student spending. So in summary, this study highlights that financial literacy and active management habit, rather than income level and all those other things, are ultimate drivers of spending discipline. While parental guidance provide a critical foundation, peer influence is also the primary challenge to financial self-control. So to ensure a long-term stability, students need practical education to prioritize needs and resist social spending pressure. So that's all from me. Thank you.